Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Daniell Krawczyk. I'm the director of the broadcast side of Tightrope. About 10 months ago, we switched from having everything under one umbrella to putting the PEG-focused component of the business in its own division. And my boss, Steve, used to run access stations. I worked at 2 access stations. Both of our developers worked at access stations. Our support team involves people who came straight from access stations. So we've got a PEG division really now that just focuses on PEG solutions. And I've been there about 10 months. And before that, I worked at a couple different companies. I worked at a company called LiveView. I worked at TelView for 6 years. And then before that, I was at access stations, including Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Lowell, Mass. And in Lowell, I helped start a project called Digital Bicycle, a content sharing solution that would connect a bunch of PEG stations to share files. And this was about 11 years ago, 10, 11 years ago. When I first left Lowell, one of the first groups I met in my time of not working anywhere was Tony. I met him at a conference called Beyond Broadcast. And this was, I think, 2005 maybe. And they were really innovatively looking at how they could do things with their station to reduce operating costs, because they had no operating funding. They had capital funding. And they decided to develop open source applications that could benefit more than just themselves. And I'm proud to say that 10 years later, I think they're the longest running, longest standing open source project in the PEG community. They have kept at it and changed what they do and added a lot of things. So it's just really exciting that they're the first that we get to present as a partner in this type of format. And I want to kind of announce that we've been looking at doing this kind of thing for a while, and I think we're going to continue doing this further. We want to do what we call a PEG Experts Forum, highlighting the things that are coming out of the PEG community, projects like this or other products that people are developing, or programs that are being put on collaboratively by PEG folks working together. And every couple webinars that we do at Tightrope, where we present what we're doing as a company, we want to also have an opportunity to present what our community is doing, what our customers are doing, what other PEG people are doing. So this is really our inaugural one, working with, like I said, the open media folks who I'll have their site open for a second, who have really a decade of doing open source projects now with the PEG community. And they've been doing a lot that I've talked about and worked with over the years on the public access side. Today, what's being highlighted is their solution for government. I'll talk just a few minutes about what we're doing at Tightrope on video, on demand, and live streaming, just real briefly, because we might have a chance at the end to talk again. And then we'll transition over to them, because they've developed something that can work in partnership with what we're doing, or can work entirely on its own, separate than our solution. What we're doing real quickly is we've added to our portfolio, to our solutions, we've added video on demand and live streaming hardware that goes straight to folks' iPhones, tablets, any browsers. We've updated our H.264 delivery of the stream and the VOD, and added a service called Reflect. And what Reflect does is it lets you use Amazon's infrastructure so that you can have an unlimited number of viewers instead of using only your own local bandwidth. We just started selling this, and I can show some examples of our VOD implemented on some station sites. This is Portland, Maine, and if I open any of these videos, they're actually going to load off of that Amazon bandwidth as opposed to off of the station's local bandwidth. But it's brand new, and we haven't yet implemented it with any of the folks who are using open media. So they're using something else for their bandwidth delivery at the moment, but we're very much able to offer this in conjunction with their solution. So if somebody's interested in both, in our service that gives the unlimited number of viewers without any sort of branding, without any sort of need to go to another website, it's all under your control. And I have the pricing on the website here. I don't need to talk about it. But if they want to use it in conjunction with the Open Media Project, as they're going to show, that's obviously something we're happy to promote and accomplish. So without too much more, I'm going to transition over to Open Media. I'm going to change the presenter over to Tony in just a second. I just want to say one last time how happy we are to be able to present our customers with the solution that they've built, that they've successfully delivered to other entities, which we think would be of use to our customer base. So I'm going to transition now to Tony. And
Great, thanks, Daniel.
and I'm just going to say I'm going to stay on here. I'm going to mute myself. But if anybody has a question or something that they need to be unmuted, they want to ask out loud as opposed to sending a chat, just send it to me. I'll keep the chat window open here. So.
Yeah, and of course, also there's a questions section. I think you can type in questions. So thanks everybody for being here. It looks like we got about 61 people, over 100 people registered. So we've been really excited about this project. We've been working on it for the past few years. It's called the Open Media Project for Government, and we're psyched to be partnering with Tightrope. We just got the live reflex service here at the Open Media Foundation, and as you'll see, one of the cool things about the Open Media Project is it'll work with any number of VOD providers, and our work with Tightrope. We're looking forward to integrating with that, and we've got that set up here at the Open Media Foundation and Denver Open Media. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and feel free if you want to interject with questions. I want to tell a little bit about the history of the Open Media Project. It was originally developed, like Daniel mentioned, for public access TV stations, software that was designed to automate a lot of the operations of a public access TV station because, as Daniel also mentioned, when we were awarded the opportunity to run public access in Denver, that didn't come along with any operational funding. So we had to really automate a lot of the processes. In 2008, the Open Media Project was a Night News Challenge winner, and the code was released to help other stations use that same software. And then 3 years later, we rebuilt the software as a service model to give people a full service option for the software and to make sure that the improvements, these open source improvements, were all coming back to the same code base. And then we've been working with the state legislature here in Colorado, the state house and state senate. They had hired Granicus for their VOD, and as we got more and more involved with the state legislature, we mentioned to them that the functionality we had built with the Open Media Project was like 95% of the way there for Granicus, and through our partnerships, we were beta testing YouTube's live streaming service at the time and had a great partnership with archive.org. We let them know that with a little bit of investment we could get up to 100% of the functionality of what they were using Granicus for, and cut their costs significantly. So they partnered with us to develop the software that you're looking at right now. And since then we've hired on, or we've brought on Thornton City Council, Colorado State Supreme Court, and several other clients that are now using this OMP for Government software. So I'm going to show you, here's one of our clients. I'm going to pull up the actual site. Here's the Colorado Channel website. It's just coloradochannel.net. So this is the portal for the Open Media Project software as it's implemented at the Colorado State Legislature. If they were in session, you could watch a live stream. The archive is here. We transferred over several years worth of their archives from Granicus, and you can search for any any topic. There's civil unions, and it'll pull up the sessions where they were talking about that specific topic. And it'll jump to the point in that day where it's talking about that specific project or topic. Gavin's going to go through more of the back end so we can show you how to actually create these sessions. But I'll show you just a little bit of the basic interface here. I should also mention that the viewership really jumped after we switched to this. We attribute a lot of that to the content being searchable and visible and posted up to YouTube and archive.org, as opposed to just on this Colorado Channel website and Granicus' site. Let's see. So it's a searchable, browsable library of sessions. The player has clickable agendas, which a lot of you are familiar with. You can really easily share and embed excerpts. Let's go back to another day. Let's do one from this year. It's got integrated calendars or agendas and journals. You can link to the actual language of the bill. Here's the journal. Again, you can jump to any of these sessions or topics, and it'll jump to that chapter. It's very easily shared and embeddable. if you just want to see, for example, the portion of the video where you spoke or someone said a joke or something like that, you set the in point here, click here to set the out point. The embed code automatically updates to include that in and out point. And then you can embed that anywhere you want. We also, credit that a lot with the increased traffic for this past year. So that's kind of a high-level overview. Again, because we partner with groups like archive.org and YouTube, you do have an option for free video storage. There's also some concerns with that, like YouTube, having its automated, copyright infringement kind of response, where if people play some copyrighted music, your stream can get pulled down immediately. So a lot of our clients do use YouTube, but a lot of them want a solution that they have a lot more control over, like the Tightrope Live Reflect service. And again, when we switched over to the OMP, there were some costs for migration. We switched over mid-year in 2012, and then by 2013, they had cut their costs by more than 50%. While their traffic or visitors per month to their website more than doubled. And again, Gavin's going to go through the kind of feature walkthrough, but it integrates with any live stream provider. It's one of the things that's not really apples to apples if you're comparing our service versus a Earth Channel or a Swagit or a Granicus. Is we don't include the live stream service as part of our service. We integrate with any live stream provider. So we've used Livestream here, we've used Bright Cove, the Live Reflex service, obviously, YouTube, some of which are totally free, Ustream, that sort of thing. And then video on demand, obviously all that content is there, and the back end can be stored on a CDN like Live Reflect, or it can be integrated and stored with archive.org, which is what the Colorado State Legislature uses, or YouTube, which is what some of our other clients like Thornton are using. Again, there's integrated agendas and journals if you have journals. Embeddable pages, you can embed just those portions of the video that you want anywhere that you want. And every page on the site, as Gavin will show you a little bit later, and I might jump in and show you too, every page on the site can be embedded in your own page. Some of you are more used to the layout and look and feel of like Granicus, where all the content just exists in these iframes. So it's in the shell of your own site, but then if you look at, this content is actually in an iframe from Granicus. So the Open Media Project websites can be, here's Thornton's, for example, it can be used in that exact same way where the main pages are just embedded as iframes into your own page. So that's kind of the high-level overview. Gavin's going to walk through some of the specifics, how you set up what we call an open media show or a session for your city council or for whatever it is you're recording, and how you put in those timestamps and how it integrates with the agenda and all of that. So I'm going to hand it over to Gavin. You're still muted, Gavin, I think. We can't hear you, Gavin. You unmute?
Great. Yeah, no, I'm unmuted. Sorry. Okay, so thanks, Tony. I hope everyone can see my screen. My name is Gavin Dahl in Denver, and I'm going to show you how Thornton, Colorado, the city where I live, is using the Open Media Project, and also, saving considerable taxpayer money. One quick note: have a look at our new site. What I have here is the ompnetwork.org. We just kind of did a nice little relaunch of the Open Media Foundation site, and we have this great new set of resources for for more information about the OMP. And okay, so getting back to the slides here, it's really about delivering this important resource to the public with an easy-to-manage workflow. And we're excited to be partnering with Tightrope and presenting at some big national conferences coming up this summer. For today, I'm going to show you exactly how the city of Thornton, Colorado is timestamping agendas. Many of you attending this webinar are interested in cutting costs maybe your staff is just getting started with archiving meeting videos for the first time, we're just going to look at the YouTube option in action. And after a year of beta testing, I think Tony mentioned this, YouTube is now offering free live streams to all verified YouTube accounts regardless of nonprofit status. So after the meeting has ended, the live stream URL stays the same, so your link for the archive doesn't change. So we're going to look at the Thornton site here. I'm going to go to add content and OM show like he mentioned. And so basically we're going to log into the City of Thornton Channel 8's website, and it's a standalone site designed by Open Media and running the OMP software. I'm going to go ahead and call this a 2014 City Council meeting, and obviously there are different themes here, everything from public service announcements to other commissions. This is just the straight up City Council, we'll call it Tuesday test. And for the web video, if you had just set up a live stream, you would grab that same URL. Here's just an example. Technically, this is 2013, but we'll use this one. And we put that in here. We check the date. What was that date again? It was like December 12th. Just trying to be, real thorough. There we go. 12/17/2013. Assuming that you're doing this live, you just plug your live streaming link right in, or if it's after the fact, you can timestamp the agenda whenever is most convenient for your workflow. I know sometimes for Thornton, one staffer will have to go down and take photos in the chamber, or something else might come up, so they can easily just go back through the meeting and set the agenda time points after the fact if they need to. And OMP users create as many projects and themes as needed, so you can see these fields here on the show page. The description, the City of Thornton kind of uses this section to instruct viewers how to access closed captions. So, they might have a link and, or something like that. And then for the calendar, we just grab a meeting agenda, and this is from that same meeting, December 13th, 2013. Plug that in here and get ready to click save. And Google Docs can pretty much handle just about any format, and the system parses each individual agenda item. So once we save, the show's ready to roll. And I'm going to show you the agenda manager. So this is just the kind of the view frame. I'm going to go here to agenda manager, and here comes the meeting. The gavel is struck. We start the timer, and she has called the meeting to order. I have it on mute, obviously, just so I can continue talking, but I think this is a big part of what makes so many local constituents happy with the OMP is that we help governments deliver this access to their official business. Several advocates pushing for public interest causes at the state legislature have described to me how much they rely on our Colorado channel service because tracking legislation is so much more efficient now than ever before. As Hody alluded to, we set new records for visits to the Colorado Channel site over the past 2 sessions since launching the OMP, and our municipal sites feature the same workflow for agenda management. So I just want to show you how that entire meeting agenda has been loaded here, and it looks like they have Reverend Pryor still delivering the invocation, and then the Pledge of Allegiance will be after that. And let's say something unexpected happens. You have to add an agenda item by hand. You can just, bird flies down and lands on Mayor's shoulder, and add that in to the timestamped agenda. I think the community members who get involved in an important issue or an issue that doesn't maybe seem important to you and me, but it is to them, often don't feel like they have the tools to get more of their neighbors involved. And I think that the sharing is a really beneficial piece. And this software is a service that helps government achieve greater transparency. It makes it easier for voters to know what our representatives are actually doing in office, and it's of course very affordable. I think just to kind of stay on track here, the other thing that is...
I should just chime in.
Yeah, please.
I should just chime in that, yeah, the software, whatever format you create your meeting agendas in, so, you know, Gavin showed you one from Thornton, whether you're creating it in Microsoft Word or Google Docs, or we have clients that are creating it in WordPerfect. The Colorado State Legislature does it all in PDFs. Whatever format you're creating your agenda in, our software can kind of parse that and preload it. So, you know, Gavin, you might want to just click on that meeting agenda again and then click back on your Tuesday test, and you guys can see that just each of those items then are preloaded down along the sides, so that you can just, you know, click on them as they happen. And again, as Gavin showed you, when you type in something else and click add, it'll just show up over there, and then each of those become editable by themselves. So if you want to change the language, or if they went off topic, you can change that and change the timing as well. So why don't you just click a few more of those pending things, and then just show them how that looks more in once you get back to the view.
Cool. So you get the idea. You can bring over the whole agenda and you know, piece by piece, and then it's all editable if you know, you miss one, or you know, you have to update something, or they change the order. And you know, the thing about the OMP is you have a lot of options. You can use the OMP as your back end and embed videos and pages with agendas on your existing site, which is like, for example, how the Colorado Judiciary is using the OMP. We can set you up a basic standalone site like you saw with the City of Thornton, or we can also work on a more custom set of features like you'll see on the Colorado channel. I just want to go back and show you one other cool thing that is up on the state legislature site, which is the photo blog. And you know, it's the kind of thing it's new. It's the kind of thing we can develop as more governments start to use the OMP. You can see some of this additional content beyond just meeting videos. It kind of personalizes the process for people. It's a great aspect of our open source philosophy. As we grow the reach of our service, improvements will be updated system-wide, so the more cities and public agencies that use the OMP, the more robust the entire platform gets. And you know, we're excited. I mean, our web team is excited. Tony and I are really excited to be scaling up in 2014. And you know, I think the potential with this new partnership with, well, I mean, we've been friends and allies with Tightrope for a long time, but working specifically on the VOD and Live Reflect options gets really exciting. And you know, in terms of our pricing, our prices include getting you up and running with plenty of training, and then after launch, we're always available for support during business hours. If you want custom features like that photo blog, we get into additional development costs, but keep in mind that you're basically talking about you know, an open source system that really allows you to allows us to add, you know, new features across the board as we get more governments signed on. So yeah, I just want to say my own thanks for attending the webinar, and also kind of.
And Gavin, one of the most important things that we skipped over is go back to the Tuesday test. Go back to the test. Once you then go to view, then any of those things that you just put in, including bird flies down and lies on the city attorney's shoulder, those chapter markers then are there. So you can click on that; it'll jump to that portion of the video. So it's all real time happening, putting in those chapter markers, and it's just as simple as switching back and forth from that view tab that Gavin has there to the agenda manager tab, and seeing those chapter markers.
Tony, Gavin, I think we have a question. Sarah, are you there? I unmuted you if you're there. I had a question via the questions app that I thought I could put around to ask, but I don't know if she's there. So, Sarah? Okay, I apologize, guys. We'll take questions in a few minutes instead.
Yeah, we're pretty much ready for questions. If anybody has any questions now, we can go into more detail on how you create the live stream, like in YouTube as an example, which several of our clients are doing. But it would be good to hear what some of we've got 66 attendees on the call right now. It'd be good to hear what, if any of any questions are out there.
This is Daniel again. Sarah actually sent the question via the app, and I mistakenly put her unmuted, but she doesn't have a mic. Her question is, can the agenda items be added during a live meeting?
Yeah, that's how the majority of our clients do it. So just like Gavin said, he's the Thornton City Council isn't in session right now, so he posted it in a pre-recorded session. But the vast majority of our clients, where they're pasting in that URL, they're pasting in a live stream URL. And then you start the timer when the gavel hits, and you enter the time stamps as it's going. So yeah, that's how almost everyone uses the software. You can use it in post like this, but one of the neat things about YouTube too is that URL doesn't change. So once you've posted in that URL for the live stream, when you're done recording it, then it becomes the archived video as well. Does that answer your question?
I'll see if she writes back, but I think so. Oh, hey, yep, she says, okay, great, thanks, awesome. I got a couple other questions here. Next one is Brian Scott. He says, we have OMP currently. Is the new site included? I'm assuming there would be additional costs. What would they be?
So, Gavin, would you switch back to the Open Media Project site?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, there's 3 different versions essentially of the Open Media Project. There's the Open Media Project for Government, which is designed for this video streaming, archive management, this time stamping. There's the Open Media Project for Community Media, which is more designed for public access kinds of stations, allows people to register for classes and even submit video content, reserve equipment, reserve facilities. It's a whole different set of features in general. And then we have a 3rd version for educational clients. That's more of a stripped down version of the community media piece that doesn't have any of the programming and scheduling stuff usually, but is mainly designed for people to reserve facilities, reserve equipment, and sign up for classes. So each 3 are kind of sold separately. We've never yet had a client that wanted more than one. Of course, there's lots of stations that run public access and government, or run education and government. So if someone was interested in that, I'm sure that we could come up with some pricing that would be different than just the basic price for both, depending on whether or not they're living on one side or another. We haven't had a client doing that yet, but as Gavin kind of alluded to, the government's pricing is set up at $6,000 or $10,000 a year. 6,000 is kind of the basic site, which looks, the Thornton site is an example of the $6,000 level. So yeah, if you want to even show them the Thornton site or even hand it back over to me, I can show it to them. And the Colorado channel site is more custom built, and that's more like the $10,000 a year version.
And to jump in for a second, one of the questions actually asked to see some of the other tabs on the Thornton site. Jeff Montgomery asked if we could show the other tabs, like edit, schedule your show, and track. And if I can quickly, but before he gets to show that, I'll just answer a couple other questions. Brian Cobb asked if Portland, Maine is using OMP. Portland, Maine has Drupal implemented. That's what I was showing earlier, but I don't think it's built using the Open Media platform, just similar Drupal code built by Ray and others. There's a question from Sean Christie asking, can I upload video from file if needed? Tony, Gavin, can you guys address that quickly before you show the other tabs? Sure. If you can upload video, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think that the video would have to be at a CDN of your choice. You would upload the video to your CDN, whether that be YouTube or Live Reflect or Livestream, and then you would provide the link. The way that the OMP is designed is you you provide the link to the online video. So again, we don't store the video. We work with any CDN. So you'd upload the video to archive.org. You'd upload it to somewhere. We don't provide a CDN in the way that like Tightrope does.
I've got a couple more questions here, and I know you're going to show those tabs, but there is one question that I will answer half-wise, and then we'll get back to it at the very end. It says, we use Granicus to record our school board meetings, making the meetings available on demand. We also record the meetings via Tightrope's Cablecast. How does OMP integrate with Cablecast? To half answer that right now, when files are captured by Cablecast, and Cablecast is working in conjunction with our own VOD server, which works with then Reflect and works with OMP, then we'll automatically make an H.264 meeting file out of your captured meeting files, and we'll automatically push that into the VOD platform and have it hosted, and then it would become seen by OMP. So the integration means that you don't have to put extra time into entering information multiple places, the way all the rest of Tightrope's integration works. Data entered once goes everywhere. And then another question here, if a meeting is not streamed live, what would be your best option to load on demand and then attach agenda and tab events to attach and mark while adding titles in an edit program? So I think the question there is, if the meeting is not streamed live, if you actually end up with a captured version, how do you get it into their system? And you would put it up into YouTube or Cablecast, Reflect, or whatever your platform was, and then be able to upload the document file right into their system.
And that's basically what I demonstrated, but that doesn't include the on-screen graphics, which would they'd have to sort out.
Yeah. There's another question saying, can we trim a video file and resave it? Which I believe you can answer real quick, Gavin.
Yeah, you can even trim it on YouTube, but again, the general way of doing that is you trim it using whatever your software is, and then just re-upload it to whatever your chosen CDN is. Some of those CDNs you can trim the video while it's online. I'm curious what some of those other tabs that and the last question you asked, yeah, what Gavin demonstrated is exactly what the last question you asked was. That he put in a pre-recorded file and then was doing that in post. So yeah, you can upload the file to your CDN and then put that link in post, or you can be doing it while you're live streaming.
Yeah. There's another question here. Somebody saying, P, E, and G, we have all three. We also have talked to the city about taking over from Granicus as well, and are in the process of getting Tightrope streaming server. Does the streaming handle both public and government, or will I need to get a completely separate streaming server? This is one I can answer. So each of the streaming servers has one input and generates one linear stream. So if you have 2 channels and you want them both to be live streamed, you need 2 servers. If you have 3 channels, you need 3 servers. There are least expensive hardware that we sell, but obviously it adds up. If you need to buy 2 or 3, it becomes more expensive. Let's see. Do you guys want to show the tabs and show it before I answer, or throw more questions?
Do you know what specific tabs that they were asking about?
I think, let me go back. Yeah, Jeff Montgomery said, show the other tabs like edit, schedule your show, and track. So I think that you had a couple tabs up on screen, and he didn't.
Yeah, it's right next to the agenda manager, Tony. Since you're showing your screen, if you go back to that Tuesday test.
Mm-hmm. You could chat me that URL, and then I could probably load and edit it.
Or you can share my screen again. I can just show it.
Okay.
I have it open.
Great.
Yeah, cool. So just right back in here. This is on the City of Thornton's site. We're in the content section, and we have the view tab, the agenda manager, and then edit. This is in the edit window right here. These are the settings I walked through at the beginning, where we basically set what kind of project and theme it is, gave it a title. In this case, I clicked in that link from the archived YouTube clip from last year, just to use that as the example. And then as you go down, you load your calendars in and save at the bottom. The agenda manager is the main interface you're going to be dealing with in terms of your actual workflow. And that's where we saw all those agenda items come up. And then as they get added to the timestamping, they pop over here on the right. And then the view page is just what the public sees. And that's where, for example, you have that really cool share tool that Tony was talking about down here.
And if he was specifically asking about schedule your show, we're actually working, as you can see in the URL, on a dev version of the Thornton site. And because the software is sharing the same code base as the other versions, that schedule your show is showing up in this. But that's actually a feature that's not enabled on these government channels. That's a feature that's designed for the public access station version. So that's a feature that we'd have to do in another webinar when we demonstrate the version for public access stations. And I apologize that that tab even showed up there.
Okay, I have a couple more questions that have come up. First one says, are currently installed systems requiring a dedicated person to monitor and manage the various elements during a live recording? What other manpower issues need to be addressed prior to an installation?
Yes, so every client we have right now does have a person that is clicking the timestamp items. A few of them do it in post so that it can be the same person that's doing other things. But for example, even the Colorado State Supreme Court, they didn't have additional manpower, and they didn't want to devote additional manpower, so they got a I forget what you call those people. They got an employee of the court that's always just sitting there. I can't remember what you call those people.
Like a bailiff?
Yeah, like a bailiff, to just hold an iPad and then click the agenda items as they happen. So you know, it can be as simple as that, what the Colorado State Supreme Court is doing, where again they just have a bailiff that's not really trained just clicking those items, all the way to like the Colorado channel, where the Colorado channel has you know, one employee for the Senate, for example, that's responsible for switching and loading all the camera shots and running their broadcast pick switcher, and then a second staff person whose job it is to click all these agenda items and to load up all of the graphics for the channel. But most of the clients that we've had are coming from doing this with another provider. So they've been using Earth Channel, they've been using Granicus, or they've been using Swagit, and the workflow is really identical. It's a little bit faster in my opinion, because we did use Granicus for a few years, but the workflow is really the same.
Hey, guys, I got two more questions from somebody. I'll combine them into one question because it's from the same person. I just hadn't addressed it earlier. She asked earlier if there are any examples of sites using Livestream. And then also she just sent another question saying, is there any coordination with government document archive software or databases such as eCode? I'm not familiar with those systems.
So I'll do the latter question. Yeah, and so far we haven't run into a government document approach that hasn't worked with this, but we do, you know, our default is that we use Google Docs, because Google Docs can take usually any output, whatever format you output it into, and make it into a format that our software can understand. You know, it is one of the few, like, this is almost like a cookie cutter solution that we install for most people. That's the one piece that we really spend a lot of time working with people on. So if their workflow for agenda creation is different, then we would work with you. Brian, my developer, is sitting here with me. He might have a little bit more info on those specific formats.
As we discover places like eCode or what's the other place that has all this?
Brian's saying as we discover more places like eCode and stuff, we work to integrate with them. So we'll be sure to do that as we get clients that have that. What was the other question, Daniel?
Sorry, I'm buried in questions actually. The other question besides the government document archive and databases such as eCode was Livestream. If there's any examples of sites who are using Livestream with your product.
So actually, like Denver Open Media's site is currently using Livestream for its stream.
Oh, okay.
That's the public access station that we're running. We also have the Live Reflex service set up, and we're using that as well. But if Gavin wants to pull up the live stream, it's under the watch and vote link up top. Yeah, one of the downsides to live stream is that URL does change from the live stream video to their CDN, storage of the archived video. So that adds one little extra step. It's just changing or adding a second URL. But other than that, the workflow is nearly identical with Livestream. It's really CDN and Livestream provider agnostic. The Open Media Project software can really work with any Livestream provider.
Now, I have another question that's a little more complicated, or at least on the philosophical side. Somebody had an excellent question saying, what makes it open source? And by the way, if I called this open source based on other projects you guys have done and it's not, and then I'm the one to put my foot in the mouth, I apologize. But are users able to see the source code and modify? So answers to that?
Yeah, so Gavin, either hand back over to me or you can just load up the OMP network website. There you go. So on the OMP network website, there is a code tab that has a link to the GitHub repository. And it's, you know, our experience in doing this now for 7 or 8 years is that this software as a service approach is the best way to ensure that this content is staying on a centralized code. And Brian can speak a little bit more to this. He's our lead developer of this project and has been working on it for several years. But yeah, so we do make that code available. So far, very little improvements have been contributed back. Whereas anything that we create for any clients, that's what we do. We put it back. We're never going to do what a lot of the commercial providers do, where they'll add a feature or even get paid to add a feature and then have it be an additional premium that they charge everyone for. So yes, the code, if you have developers that are good with PHP and whatnot, then all the code is there on GitHub and you can do it yourself. We find that most of our clients prefer to have a full service package that is managed in the same way that all the competitors we've mentioned before are Granicus, Earth Channel, Swagit, that sort of thing. Anything to add to that, Brian? Good.
All right, thank you guys for addressing that. There's a couple other questions that happened a little earlier and I didn't get to, and I feel bad I passed over them. One person says that they only do audio for their meetings, and they're curious for you guys how the video portion works, if you yourselves are providing cameras, and if you switch from full view of each individual with the ID of the speaker. So if you're using an automated system or manually doing all of your event capture.
So it's different with different clients. The Colorado State Legislature does actually hire us to have staff there at the House and Senate, filming the events. And whereas, Thornton and other clients of ours, we aren't there. We maybe help them set up some of their equipment at the beginning, but it's just one very small addition to their pre-existing workflow where they were already, broadcasting their sessions on television. So all they've really done is added this web interface. I don't know if that answers the question.
Well, and just one other quick point is that, kind of referring back to an earlier question about staff, it is, if you do have video of your meetings and you don't have the capacity to do the agenda timestamping live, it's actually even faster to do it after the fact, of course, than to sit through the whole meeting. So, so it's not, and we talked about the bailiff solution with the iPad. That's certainly, that kind of a possibility. But I think on the staffing side, it's really incorporates right into the existing workflow. Like for the city of Thornton, they didn't add any additional, didn't have to add any additional staff capacity.
Anything else, Daniel?
There's more questions. I think I'm going to take it back over to my screen because I've got somebody asking me to just do a recap. They had staff that walked in at the end. And I've also had a handful of people asking me to connect you with them afterwards, asking if they're both a public access channel running government meetings. Do they go for the government level of the public access? And other folks who would like to just chat with you for more details about, actually, a question of how long do you estimate it takes to implement your system. So I might as well ask that publicly. Others might want to know. What's your estimate of time for implementing?
Yeah, so it's a 1 month turnaround. Again, it's a fairly pre-built cookie cutter solution. So if there are a lot of customizations, those can take time. But our installation timeline, which includes training, is just a 1 month turnaround.
All right, so I'm just going to wrap up real fast. I did have somebody ask me to kind of sum up the Tightrope site again, just because they missed that in the beginning. I hate to sound like a total shill. But like I said in the beginning, Tightrope has improved our live streaming and our VOD so that we're now doing it direct to devices as well as browsers. We have a Reflect service that allows you to reach an unlimited number of viewers. This is all automated so that if you have our solution for your Cablecast, all that content can be shared online without having to manually put in the details, put in the metadata. And now we're working with Open Media so that you can implement their timestamping, agenda indexing in lieu of more expensive, less featured options. We hope to do more of these types of presentations. There's other great programs, products, projects coming out of the PEG community. Oh, yep, I'm back showing on air. Let me close the questions. So we hope to do some more shortly in the next couple months. We've had some. If it's fair to call this a Granicus replacement, we'll say that we've had a lot of folks ask about facile replacements, systems that allow you to manage your reservations and equipment. And obviously, Open Media's had a Drupal and web-based system for many years, but there are other products coming out of the PEG community that don't require the same level of implementation. And we've had some folks asking about those, and we're working on integration with them, and we hope to maybe show some of that off in the next couple months. So if anybody has suggestions, things they think they'd like to see covered in webinars, either from the Tightrope hardware software side or from our customer base, the PEG community, please send them to us. We really want suggestions.